My name is Julie. I'm a detective with Madison Police. And the reason I wanted to come and do this presentation is for 4 years I worked in the Dane County Narcotics and Gang Drug Unit, or the task force, which is our drug unit. And so I saw heroin when it first came to Madison 6 years ago. And I talked with a lot of the users at that time. They thought heroin was the greatest thing in the world. I'm still seeing a lot of those people struggling to get off of the drug. A lot of those people have overdosed. And a lot of people that I've come in contact have died of overdoses. So the information that I'm sharing with you comes from the users, the dealers, and family members of people who have used heroin. This slide isn't too far off from the truth. We have a heroin overdose almost every single day. Sometimes we've had up to like three a day. The way that heroin comes into Madison and also to your city is going to be primarily probably through Illinois. I heard from the sheriff that Rockford's very close here, so I'm guessing that the people are going to head down to Rockford, get the heroin, bring it back to your community. This is a slide that shows you what heroin looks like. I primarily see the 3 slides on the left over there as far as the color of it. I'm going to try to educate you on what to look for, signs that somebody might be using heroin. So you can see what it looks like, but then the person who's distributing heroin, they will also add a cutting agent to it to make more products. So if they go down to Rockford, they could buy it pure or in the raw form, bring it back to Monroe, add a cutting agent to it, which would be Sleepinol, Tylenol, but it could be anything, drywall. They're also cutting it with fentanyl to make it even stronger. So now they have twice as much product and they can make more money. The average user spends $150 to $200 a day on heroin. I have a pretty good job and I couldn't afford to spend $150 to $200 on heroin, and neither can the people who are using it. So what are they doing to fund their addiction? They're committing thefts, they're committing burglaries, they're breaking into cars, prescription fraud, they're doing robberies, they're doing anything that they can to try to get money for the drug. The analogy that I was told is that it's like if you jump into a 12-foot pool of water, you're going to do everything you can to get to the top, to get air, and that's what it's like for a heroin addict who needs to get the heroin. They're going to do anything that they can to get that drug, which means they're going to be stealing from their family and friends, pawning items, things like that, to get money for that drug. Things to look for packaging of how heroin's packaged is it could be in a gem pack in the lower corner there. It could be in knotted baggie corners. So if you're seeing baggie corners in the garbage or cut off sandwich baggies, that might mean that somebody's using heroin. Maybe gum wrapper, the foil from gum wrappers. But also, the dealers are getting smart, and they know that we have DNA that we look for on that packaging. So they're asking the user to bring their own packaging. It might be like the cellophane from a cigarette package. So they're just giving it to them in their hand and saying, here's the product, find your own packaging to get it home. Like Sarah had mentioned, there's 3 different ways that you can use it. You can smoke it, you can snort it, and you can inject it. A lot of people start out snorting it, but without a long period of time, they end up injecting it because their friends are going to tell them, you can get a better high by injecting it and you're wasting it. So they'll switch over to injecting it. The lunchbox is something that you might see at the Needle Exchange and the AIDS Resource Center. They give out what's called the lunchbox, which would be a round paper bag that contains everything that the person needs to inject heroin. And so their philosophy is if somebody's going to use, we want them to use safely so they don't get infections and abscesses and things like that. So you might find the cookers, you might find the needles, things like that. It's not drug paraphernalia on our standpoint, from a police standpoint, until it's used. Once they use that syringe and cooker, now it's drug paraphernalia and they could get arrested for that. You might want to look for if the person has any marks on the inner arms. Say, for instance, in the summer, they're wearing long-sleeve shirts and it's hot out. Why are they wearing long-sleeve shirts? Are they covering up track marks? People who use heroin and inject it, they'll inject it maybe on the top of their hand, maybe in between their toes. One of the probation agents said that a user told her that he was injecting it in his penis because he knew that she wouldn't look there for track marks. Another way that they do it, because after a long use of heroin, their veins are going to collapse. So some people are even injecting it anally because they don't have the veins to inject into. So there's a few myths that people have. When I talked with one of the users, he said, well, I told myself I was only going to snort heroin. I was never going to put a needle in my arm, but yet he crossed that line. And like I said, the reason is because there's peer pressure. And like for teenagers and young adults, how difficult is it to get a friend to do something they really don't want to do? Come on, let's go to the movie, I don't want to. Come on, let's go. So they encourage them and they get them to, hey, just try heroin. You're snorting it or you've never tried it, you should try it. See what a great high it is. And they cross that line. If they do that, they have the 50-50 chance of being addicted to heroin the first time that they inject. Another thing is they might tell the person it's the best high ever. And I asked one of the users, I said, is it the best high ever? And he said, well, that first time was a really good high. But after that, it always seemed like I was trying to chase something that I could never achieve. Because the tolerance is built up, so you're going to need more and more of the drug to get high. And after you've used it for so long, you don't even get high anymore. You need to have the drug just to feel normal. So why can't the heroin user stop using? A lot of parents might say, why don't you just stop using? Well, they can't, because it has a physiological and a psychological need for them to continue to use it. They're going to start to crave it 46 hours after their last dose. And it attaches to the opiate receptors in the brain, like Sarah said. But it also rewires the brain, so there's going to be triggers that are going to make them think about using. So for example, we have a Hy-Vee grocery store in Madison where a lot of people meet their drug dealers. So if they met their dealer there, and then they decided, okay, I don't want to use this drug anymore, every time they drive by Hy-Vee, they're going to think about that time that they used heroin, and it's going to be very difficult for them to not want to use again. Same thing as if you were in a car accident, every time you went through that intersection, you're going to think about what happened. So what we recommend is that the users get away from their environment, get away from their friends who they were using it with, so that they don't have those triggers that are going to make them want to use. I'll let you just look at these, but these are just some signs that might give you an indication whether or not your child is using any type of drug. But you'll notice a difference in what their normal routine was, and it's going to be taking on some of these different signs and signals to be aware of. Just to give you the short-term effects, one way that you can tell if somebody is using prescription medication or heroin is to look at their pupils. They're going to have pinpoint pupils. And when they're on heroin, it's kind of an escape. So you might see them, it's not like the effects that it has would be the same as if you took oxy or hydrocodone for anybody who's taken pain medication. Kind of gives you a relaxed feeling, state of euphoria, where that person feels like they don't have any cares or worries in the world because they're on this escape with this drug. So what's the life of a heroin addict like? Well, every day it's going to be a routine of buying heroin at least once a day, usually several times a day, because what they do is they're not going to, if they're spending $150, they're not going to go spend that all at once because they don't trust themselves not to shoot up and overdose on that amount. So they'll go out and they'll spend $20 at a time, but they don't know what they're getting either, because it could be cut with drywall, it could be fake heroin. So if they spend $20 at a time, they're going to test it, see if it's good. Okay, when that starts to wear off, they'll go meet that dealer or another dealer later on, and the cycle begins where they're just spending a short amount at a time. Usually the people who are using are middle to upper class people because they're the ones who have the money to start out with to buy this drug because it's expensive. So what happens is they're getting money from the family, the parents aren't realizing what's going on, but after a certain point, the parents figure out, hey, what do you have to show for all this money I've given you? So they cut them off. Well, that person is addicted and they still need to get that drug, so what are they going to do? Now they start stealing from their family and their friends. And this causes turmoil in the family. So they're pawning Xboxes, they're pawning grandmother's wedding rings, they're pawning items that belong to their family and friends to get money for that drug. Well, then the family kicks them out of the house because they can't have that going on in the home. Well, now they're still addicted to the drug. So now they're starting to commit the crimes on the street because they need to get the money for the drug. So they're breaking into cars and doing things like that. All their friends are going to be heroin addicts also, because who else wants to hang out with you to go get high and buy heroin unless you're doing the same thing. So what happens if a person wants to stop using? Well, their withdrawals are going to start 8 to 12 hours after their last dose. And as it was explained to me, it's the worst flu ever. Well, none of us want to get the flu to begin with, and if it's the worst flu ever, you're going to do whatever you can not to be sick, which means to go buy more heroin. The nurses in the jail said that the heroin users that are in jail say they would rather die than go through withdrawals because it's so hard on their body and so difficult to go through. So why are we having all these overdoses? Well, yes, the heroin is more pure than it was in the 70s, but when I talk to these people who have overdosed and I ask them what led up to this overdose, what I'm finding is that they are actually trying to get off of the drug. So if they stop for even a minimum of 3 days and they get sick and they can't take it anymore and they go back to using, their chances of overdosing and dying increases by 40%. So if I arrest somebody on a Friday night, they sit in jail, first thing they do when they come out Monday morning is want to go get heroin, they risk overdosing at that time. The places where the overdoses occur are basically anywhere that someone chooses to use heroin. It might be at their house, their friend's house, parking lots. But what we're noticing is that if they meet their dealer at Hy-Vee, they can't wait to get home to use that in a safe place. So they shoot up right there in the parking lot. Well, they have to get back home to where they came from, so now they're driving down the road under the influence of heroin, running into people and causing accidents, and it's affecting the community. The other thing is a lot of people will meet them at a gas station, so they'll go into the bathroom at the gas station, shoot up in there, and we find people overdosed in the gas station bathrooms also. The symptoms of an overdose, it depresses the autonomic nervous system. The brain tells the body to stop breathing, and unless you get help, you will die. The only thing that reverses the effects of a heroin overdose is Narcan. And when they get their needles with the AIDS Resource Center, they can also get Narcan. So friends have this pact where they say, we're going to save each other, you know, I'll save you, you save me. So they are able to have Narcan, and we've also trained our police officers in Madison, so they have it with them in the squad car. Family members can get Narcan. The thing is that the medication for Narcan lasts 30 to 90 minutes, and heroin stays in your system much longer. So they might save their friend and then leave, not knowing that that person could still overdose because it's still in their system. So one of the things that I've had difficulty with is a lot of the people that I've talked with have overdosed. The most I heard was one guy who overdosed 7 times. He's now deceased. But I would say to him, you know, I don't get why you keep using this. You know, you almost died. You would think you'd be, you know, happy to be alive. And this is what he said. He said, at first it did scare me a little bit, but the heroin is so powerful. It's a devil in a bag, if you will. You would think it would scare the person into not doing it again. But it messed up my train of thought so much I was thinking, not that I'm glad to be here, but wow, that heroin must have been really good. I should get some more. At the time it was more important to get high than to worry about whether I was going to die or not. So with knowing how it changes their train of thought and makes them think this way, it helped me to understand why they continue to use. And in fact, I think that's why a lot of people are cutting their heroin with fentanyl, because people are overdosing on that and dying, and then that means that other people are going to go to that dealer because they know that they have really good heroin. Little bit about the drug dealer. That person's unemployed. They don't really need a job because they have many customers who are spending $150 to $200 a day, and it's very lucrative business. A lot of people who used to sell marijuana and cocaine now sell heroin because they know that heroin addicts are going to come back every single day versus coming once a week. The thing that is really important to understand, and I go and teach this for the high school kids, is the middleman. So what's happening, we'll say for instance in Monroe, they'll have a person who might have a source in Rockford. So that person will go down to Rockford. First of all, they'll collect the money from their friends, go down to Rockford, get the heroin, bring it back, and then share it with their friends. Well, that person who went to go get it gets to use for free because they went to go get it. So now, if they give it to their friends and one of their friends overdoses and dies, the person who's responsible for that death is their friend, who's now a middleman that went to go get it. Yes, we could hold that person accountable in Rockford for that death, but that person, the person who has a relationship with their friend that handed it to them, is the person that I target. And I have sent people to prison for that, for giving heroin to their friend and causing their death. Because a lot of people don't realize that. They think we're just all using together, but they don't realize if they went to get it and give it to them, they're the ones who's responsible. These are the different things that people can be charged with related to the crimes that they commit. And if you notice, they're all felonies, except for driving down the road unless you hit and kill somebody. So a felony is on a person's record for life. So even if they go to prison and they get out and they come, decide they're going to try to get off that drug and try to move on with their life, this felony conviction follows them around for the rest of their life. So they have challenges that come with that. Oops. Sarah covered the Suboxone, so you know what that is. A lot of people that I've come in contact with, at first they wanted Suboxone, they no longer want Suboxone because they find out that it's just as hard to get off of as heroin. Vivitrol is a very promising drug. It's non-addictive, it's non-narcotic, and combined with counseling, it's been found to be very successful. A lot of the users are familiar with it, and a lot of the users are now going that route. The challenge is they have to get clean and go through withdrawals before they take the drug. So that's what's difficult for them. The methadone clinic, one person who went there said they've never been contacted by so many drug dealers and prostitutes as when they went to the methadone clinic, because they know where the users are. So if they can get in their head, then they'll start using again. The outpatient and inpatient treatment I've heard the statistic is 3% effective. A lot of people that I come in contact have been to treatment many, many times, and they'll say, just send me to prison, treatment doesn't work. Good treatment should be at least a year long to try to get that heroin out of your brain. Oops. Keep skipping ahead. So one of the things that I found is that the heroin addict struggles with is when I come in contact with them and they say, I don't want to use this drug anymore, and I call up our resources of Journey and Tolarian and say, hey, I have somebody who wants to get help, and they say, tell them to come back next week on a Monday morning, and we'll see if we can get them in. So there's waiting lists. People can't get the help that they want in a timely manner. And for families, it's very stressful and difficult because they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars to try to help their child. And treatment, insurance companies aren't going to continue to pay for treatment if it doesn't work the first time. People are putting on second mortgages of their houses, trying to do whatever they can to help their child. So the majority of addicts that I've come in contact with, they're not addicts by choice. And think about it, we all have addiction in our family. It might be smoking, it might be Starbucks, whatever. So this is an addiction. And so they're going to need support and willpower to help them get through this. They know how much they've lost, and they don't want to be addicts. It was a bad decision. But if they had that 50-50 chance and they got addicted, they're stuck with that. There is a day that they will want to change, so don't give up on that person. Let them know how much you love them and care about them, and ask them what you can do to help them to get through this. What I found is that a lot of the people that I've come in contact with, it seems like they're self-medicating with the heroin. They're depressed, and instead of taking an antidepressant, they're taking heroin. So what happened in their life that's causing them to self-medicate? Are they covering up for a death in their family they never dealt with? There's something that happened that they have to get past so that they don't need to resort to heroin. So counseling is a very important thing. We're going to switch to I'm going to show you a video that's called Craig's Story. And Carol is here, and she's the one who put the video together. And after the video, then Carol will talk about it.
Drug use among 18 to 26-year-olds is rising.
Bad decisions, unfortunately, cost him his life.
Craig's heroin addiction killed him.
It's happening in suburban areas. It happens in areas where we live, where you don't think your kids are going to have trouble.
Heroin is killing more and more Wisconsin kids, and more often they are from the suburbs, like Craig.
The Craig that he became during his time of doing drugs was not him.
Some of the heroin is so strong, Users are dead before they can pull out the needle.
The 20-year-old who grew up in a seemingly normal home with a great family had started using pot, then OxyContin, and then he ventured to heroin.
He injected heroin, collapsed, not in a big city back alley, but on his bedroom floor in a nice neighborhood in the suburb.
He just got caught up in something he couldn't get out of.
My brother Craig was born on April 6, 1988. My mom says he was always on the move, even as an infant. By the end of the day of his third birthday, he was riding his bike. At the age of 5, he started karate. Craig was very dedicated to getting his black belt. Just shy of the age of 10, he was one of the youngest students to receive it. Besides all of that, Craig enjoyed soccer, baseball, and football. He played catch with me and tried to help me with sports. We did a variety of things together as a family. That was special to all of us, but I think for Craig it was even more so. I know he loved family get-togethers. Mom and Dad wanted to make sure we had lots of wonderful memories, so we traveled quite a bit. We panned for gold in Garnison, South Dakota, and visited Mount Rushmore, New Orleans, Disney World, Glacier National Park, Seattle, and Victoria Island off the coast of British Columbia. We also flew to Las Vegas right after Christmas one year.
There's the keys.
We explored Red Rock Park, the Grand Canyon, and the Hoover Dam. We stood on the streets along with hundreds of other people watching the fireworks over the city. That was pretty cool.
Craig's always the type of kid that you could call up and have absolutely nothing to do. You could know the whole day there was nothing to do, and Craig would still find something fun to do. You could never get mad at the kid. You couldn't, even if he did do something to piss you off, you were mad at him for about a minute and you got over it, just because it was Craig.
Craig was the kind of guy where if you threw an idea out there, no matter if it was stupid or what, he'd want to do it, and it'd be fun. I mean, you could go take a walk with him or, just do whatever. There wasn't a dull moment with Craig. He always made me laugh, no matter what it was. You could just sit there and watch him, and he'd be doing something funny within 5-10 seconds, without even trying.
You can meet any old person, young person, anything. They'll just go right up and talk to you. They'll find something that you know what you're talking about, and they'll go for it.
Football was everything to Craig.
And the handoff on the play is Beatty again, and he takes it inside the 30 to the 28. Such a prospect. He's running with some heart out there, and he's running with authority. Again, a quick pitch to Beatty, trying to get around the right side.
He was a fast runner on the team and played defensive positions on special teams and was a running back for a short time.
Yeah. He's getting a lot of carry. Yeah, he's getting some good lessons. He's not afraid to stick his head in there and takes it in. 5'11", 160-pound junior. Well, when you look at the roster, those guys are seniors, so they need to know who's next in line. Have the torch passed to him. Oh, look, Beatty got hurt up the play.
Things started to go south for
He was always really good athletic, he was real good at athletics, baseball, football, growing up he was always pretty athletic, and he was a good looking guy, he had no problem with the ladies. He said I think he dated quite a few girls from our high school.
So one thing, I remember I played table for like 2 weeks before Craig even started, and like 2 days later, beat him every time. You want to be good at something, you get good at it real quick. We always took him on family vacations with us on spring break. And, my family loved him. Great guy, great personality.
He was a really popular kid in high school. He was on front court.
I remember one time me and Craig were snowboarding. It was our last run, so we were going to head over on the closed trails. And we were heading over there, and the snow groomer caught our tracks. So we had to sit on our boards and ride it all the way down the hill real quick before he caught us.
And we had filled up some water balloons from earlier that day, and all of a sudden Craig disappeared, and we ran out back, and we ran 2 houses down, and from the backyard, this van was driving by, and we had the passenger window down, and Craig threw the water balloon straight into the van, and it exploded in the ladies' van window, and she was all obviously a little upset that she got splashed with water balloon while she was driving. And Matt's like, listen lady, I don't know what you're talking about. But Craig was just, like I said, spontaneous, funny, good personality, great guy. Everybody loved him to death. And it's just not the type of kid that you would see go down the path he did.
The new drug in the forest was Oxycontin, and you know it's a synthetic heroin, and so you know we would smoke pot and you know watch movies, play video games, and every once in a while somebody get the Oxycontin, and that's where it became from every couple of days to every other day to every day use because it got so addicted to the Oxycontin.
I think it wasn't too long when he got out of high school, that's when he started to use Oxy. He really changed.
Yeah, when Craig started using Oxycontin, he kind of hung out with the wrong environment, and he just kind of jumped on the bandwagon. He never really used his head, he just went with the flow, and eventually he was hooked before he even knew it. He had a bigger problem on his hands than he thought. And eventually the Oxycontin led to his heroin use.
What they started out with is using Oxy, or you know, some kind of pain medicine.
What he wanted to do was become a private pilot, with his private pilot license, and he started taking flight lessons, and they could get him out right away to fly. He was so happy. He was just such a happy boy.
After Craig and a group of his friends really started getting hooked on Oxycontin, one of Craig's friends, and was one of my good friends at one time, started hanging out with people who were using heroin. I just told Craig it was a matter of time before his buddies started using heroin. Once people got into Oxycontin, and they were broke, they had no job, they were running out of ways to get money, which is surprising because they could always find a way. You know, heroin showed up all of a sudden. That easily they'd switch from Oxycontin to heroin. Not even thinking about from a pill to heroin, they would just go right away, just, oh wow, cheaper, okay, let's do it. Then once Craig got hooked to heroin, everything went downhill.
He got mixed in the wrong crowd. Probably the biggest junkies in town, he was hanging out with every night and going to their house, doing drugs with them. And they were true friends to Craig, they were just drug buddies.
What I actually noticed the very first time that I realized that he was injecting was in the bathroom that we use, there's a little bit of spurt of blood. That it's not like you cut your finger and it's drop on the floor. It was a spray. That I thought, geez, that must be put together.
He asked to borrow, I think, $120 from me. And he even said, you know, you could keep my Xbox as collateral. You know, and he's like, if I don't pay you back in a week, you could go on my Xbox, go sell my Xbox and get the money back. And, you know, from hanging around the environment for so long, I knew right away that it was, you know, he was gonna run with the money, and I knew he would even try getting his Xbox back at one point. So I said no. He even started crying on the phone, and I still told him no because I knew his body was just doing everything it could to just get some money in his pocket.
As close as all of us were to Craig, as he started to use and get further into drugs, a lot of us just said, you know, if you're going to be doing this stuff, we're not going to be friends with you, we're not going to hang out with you. And as hard as that is to do, and you're a really good friend with somebody, you don't want to get mixed up with that.
You know, my situation with Craig, I told him I tried helping him a lot, and I just told him that if you're going to keep doing it, I can't be your friend anymore, because I didn't want to hang out with people he was hanging out with. I didn't want to be around it, I didn't like it, so.
So these people that I've interviewed have been in jail, and the reason they're in jail is because of the heroin. And what brought them there is trying to get the money for that addiction. They're robbing banks, they're stealing.
The one thing you got to be careful of is of a drug user with Oxycontin or heroin is they are very, very good liars.
So you struggle to get out of it, even though, I know at the end of it, Craig wanted to stop. He wanted to quit. He told me, and I really told all these guys multiple times, I don't like it. I hate that. I want to get out of it. And the drug just took over.
And that's when you start selling everything. You start stealing money, you start calling up friends, borrowing money. Hey mom, hey dad, can I borrow money? And everything just starts to spin out of control, because then you burn these bridges with people because you didn't pay them back the money that you're going to pay them on Friday with your paycheck. You sold all your valuable stuff, so now you can't even sit at home and play video games or do whatever. You know, it can get out of control in a matter of a week to a month, and it can take years to fix it.
In August, we had to go for 2 weeks in rehab, and that was an absolute total waste of time. There are also good rehab centers, and there are no good ones.
Withdrawing from heroin is very painful and horrible to endure.
Everyone's different. Normally I can go for no more than like 12 hours before I start to notice the symptoms. And it'll just start with the runny nose, like the sniffles, and then from there, you'll get your hot and cold flashes, and then you add to that stomach cramps, vomiting, diarrhea, and you get a headache on top of it all. Everything on you hurts, and you don't want to do a single thing. And I've had times where I've been sick for 14 days.
The day he got out of rehab, he was very excited, very happy, and that night he told me he wanted to go to a friend's house who was struggling with OxyContin. And I said, no, you're not supposed to. That's the #1 rule. You don't go, you avoid all friends who do drugs. No, he wanted to help this boy. So I went to his house, and he apparently told him everything he had learned. And right after that, the boy says, well, that's great, Craig. How about some OxyContin? And Craig couldn't turn it down. But he'd only been in rehab for 2 weeks. And so when he came home, he was crying, he was devastated because he had failed himself, and he was crushed. And I was like, oh my God, the nightmare's starting all over again.
And so it just became a battle of, do I want to get sick and feel like crap for a few days, or do I want to just get high again and not have to worry about it? It became, every day, almost every other day, it was, I hate this drug, I hate it, I gotta quit doing it, I'm gonna stop doing it. And then it's like, oh, I got $20, I'm not gonna, alright, let's go get high. And for months it went on like that, where I hated it, up until I got high, and then I was perfectly happy again.
One day Mom came home and found Craig passed out on his chair. At first she thought he was dead. Once she knew he was breathing, she decided to videotape him, thinking that seeing himself like that would shake him up.
I'm photographing my son being high. So if you're not high, what do you call this that was laying on the bottom of your register sheet? No, you can't have it, Craig. No.
She never showed it to him.
Everything nice that I had is gone. It was traded or pawned for heroin, buy drugs. Lost family, friends, people I don't want to talk to anymore. You have friends that, overdose and die that you'll never see again. Is where it burned me, is when I started to burn family members and, take things from them and pawn them off and that. So that's kind of how I at first know. I didn't care if people wanted to be around me or not. It was more drugs and money for me and the less person that I had to deal with.
Right after that, Mom and Dad had Craig admitted to a rehab center in Oklahoma.
What is this?
It meant that Craig couldn't be with our family for Christmas, which was his favorite season.
And a price tags. Just don't look at it. What is it, a hat?
your friend Allie. I was like, you should give me this hand. It was so hard for them to do that. He was put on the bus for the overnight trip. Craig called and left a recorded message during one of his stops along the way.
Hey, Mom, Dad, Michael. I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry for everything I've done to you guys. Mom and Dad, thanks a lot for spending the money to get me here. And I'm really excited about getting on with my life and getting over all this garbage. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
My mom and dad still cry when they listen to it. Little did we know that Craig would never again be with us for Christmas.
When he came home from the rehab place in Oklahoma, he got in the car and he had this big grin on his face because he had his ears pierced while he was there. I looked at him and I said, oh. And he just had this big grin. And I was, I didn't get angry with him or anything. And it was just a joke type of thing between us because he knew how I felt about all that. And it's done. And he was happy. So be it.
And I'd go over there almost every day after school. After we got back from rehab, I'd go over there a couple hours playing ping pong with him. And I would sit and play ping pong for hours and hours. It seemed great. It seemed like old Craig again. It was awesome.
We went to see our Air Force recruiter, and then he was very excited, and we finally saw him start to get excited and serious about his future.
The people you're getting those drugs from are addicts themselves. They're addicted to the money. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything besides their money.
The way that it was if you heard someone overdosed off this person's stuff, it was awesome. I'm going to start buying from that guy because his stuff is better than anyone else's right now if he has people dying off of it.
They don't care about us. They just want money, and they don't care about our families. They don't care about anything but themselves.
Well, the thing that was really shocking was I was the last person to hang out with Craig the day before he died, and we were actually partying over or hanging out at Brian's house 2 nights before that. We got a little rowdy, and me and Craig accidentally broke a chair, so we were over there to fix it the next day. And I came and picked him up, and he was fine. He was happy.
The last day we had together, he went to spend with one of his good friends. He was so happy.
It was the best he looked at in a while. And, he was cracking jokes, we were having fun, we put the chair back together.
And then I went through his room and found a stash of paraphernalia. I went to a friend's house and I brought Craig home.
And then Carol came and picked him up, and, that was the last time I seen him.
I was very, very angry with him. And then he poured gas on it and burned it out in the driveway, and it was a symbol that he's cleaning his life up. That's it, he's done. And he had some in his room and I didn't know. And so that evening, the three of us sat down and had a nice long talk. We all had dinner together, and then we had a nice long talk, and then we told Craig that we forgave him for all the hurts, the different problems he caused us and stuff, and we loved him. And so we went down and we played ping pong for a couple hours, and then we went to bed, and he did his usual. He always had trouble sleeping at night. And the last time I got up was about 3:30 in the morning, and I went in his room and he was smoking a cigarette, and I took it away from him. And told him I'd give him the cigarettes in the morning. And then I went back to bed, and he got up to take a shower right after that. And I thought that was odd, but then I thought, well, he's, I know he was having trouble sleeping and everything, maybe it would help him relax. And then about 4:30, I heard him slam his door. And I woke up, and I wished to God I had gotten up. It's my woulda, coulda, shoulda thing. I didn't get up, and I went back to sleep because I was tired, and it was probably right after that, the coroner thinks he shot up. And I think all night long he had been fighting it. and finally gave in. And the next morning, I got up and I let him sleep in. And before I left for work, it was about 10:15 in the morning, and I knocked on his door, and he didn't answer, and I just knew. I opened the door, and there he was on the floor. But I couldn't wake him up, I couldn't do anything, it was too late.
That next morning, I got a knock on the door, and it was an officer, a detective, and she told me that Craig passed that morning. And I didn't believe her. I mean, I just seen him. I was just hanging out with him the day before, so.
So I will forever have the picture in my mind of my boy laying there. And anybody out there who's gonna do this really needs to think hard, because their parent could be me, sitting here, dealing with that for the rest of their life.
The day of Craig's wake, it was just close family and friends, and it was a sad day. It was a cold, rainy day. It's Craig's wake. One of our best friends had just died. The family went up first, and we walked in the room, and we could see Craig. We could see his face laying in the casket. Right then, I broke down crying immediately. All of his friends, we held hands, and we walked up there, and everybody just immediately broke down crying. It was just an unbelievable sight to see the kid that you grew up with lying there in a casket.
I worked with him since I was a freshman in high school. We worked together in the summer. We worked at Angel Park Street, and all I could think about was everything that was hilarious that happened. All the times I went fishing, and just all the good times. I mean, once he was dead, you don't want to think about the bad times, because that's what ultimately ended his life. So sitting there and you're looking at your dead friend, and it's just hard, really hard to look at, and you're just thinking of everything, anything and everything, all the conversations you ever had.
When Craig passed away, I was strung out on drugs. I was running from the law. I was lost in life. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to live anymore. I just didn't know how to change my life. So I knew when he passed away, there was either two options for me, and it was either death or to turn myself in and get the help that I needed. And I chose to turn myself in because I didn't want to see everybody go through what they had just gone through with Craig.
Several days after we had the funeral, I got a bag in the mail from the coroner, and it was his burial. So that's the last thing from my boy.
Unfortunately, Craig's death is something that's going to help people to learn about the epidemic and hopefully save, other people's lives from that.
Now having a friend that's died from it, I think it's the worst thing that I could have ever done. Now looking at it, I feel horrible, and just every day, every bag that I sold to someone could have killed them, and it's just the worst feeling in the world. They're getting it in a little kid's hands, and them, using it, eating it, whatever, and they could die from it. It's just the worst feeling. Now I can't even. I hate thinking about it.
I hadn't used for 21 days because I was in jail, and I got out and I went and used immediately, and I knew I couldn't do that much, so I didn't, but it was so strong that I was dead for 5 minutes until somebody had resuscitated me, and if I went to bed with somebody, my parents would have found me, or somebody would have found me dead, and my parents would have had to come identify me in a ghetto bathroom at Burger King, and that's not the way I wanted to be dead or have anybody see me the way I died.
When you make a decision to try drugs, you're not only taking yourself on a journey into a hell on earth, you're also taking your family and friends, anyone who loves you and cares about you.
Our boy was a good-hearted, compassionate kid.
And if you die like my brother did, your suffering is over.
And I was proud of my son.
But all of those who love you will continue to suffer.
The emptiness in our hearts will never ever be filled